You ever walk into a room and instantly know something's wrong? I got off work early that Thursday. Just wanted to surprise her. I even stopped by that overpriced sushi place she likes, imagining her smile when I walked in holding it like some rom-com idiot. But as I opened the door, I heard it. A laugh. Her laugh. But not the one I knew. Not the laugh she gives me when we're on the couch watching reruns. No, this one was different. Flirty. Light. Unfiltered. Then I heard his voice. Low. Confident. Too familiar. I froze in the hallway, sushi bag still in hand. Heart pounding like I was in someone else's body. I glanced down and saw them. Pair of shoes by the door. Not mine. Not anyone we knew. Men's dress shoes. Black. Polished. Placed neatly like someone lived here. I stepped closer. The voices stopped. She said something low, almost like a warning. You wouldn't understand. And that's when he looked at me. And I looked right back. And my whole body went cold. Because I knew him. I thought this was about love or betrayal. I thought I knew what I was about to find out. But what came next would shatter everything. You ever hear someone laugh in a way that tells you they're not alone, and definitely not laughing at a show? That laugh hit me like a punch to the chest. It was light, teasing, intimate, the kind of laugh that has history behind it. The kind that doesn't happen in front of strangers or even most friends. I stood in the hallway, sushi bag slowly crumpling in my hand, my ears burning. I could hear two voices now. Her voice, Lena, and a man's. Calm, deep, unfamiliar, but with that confident rhythm like he belonged in that room. My brain scrambled for logic. Maybe she's on a Zoom call? Maybe it's a neighbor? Maybe I'm being crazy. But then I turned my head. Two mugs sat on the edge of the coffee table. One had her lipstick print. The other was black coffee, steam still rising. A throw blanket was loosely tossed over the couch arm. His jacket, a man's blazer, draped over the chair. And then I saw them. Polished dress shoes. Not mine. Perfectly aligned by the door. Like he'd taken his time. Like this wasn't his first time here. I took a breath and stepped in. The room fell dead silent. She looked up, caught, but didn't flinch. Ethan, she said. You're home early. The man turned slowly. And when I saw his face, I didn't feel anger. I felt nauseous. Because I recognized him. And if I was right, then something much bigger was going on. What would you do if the man sitting with your wife wasn't just a stranger, but someone who used to know everything about you? That was Caleb, my old best friend. Practically a brother. We'd built a startup together in our 20s. Shared dreams. Made promises. And when it all crashed, so did we. He blamed me. Said I left him hanging. I blamed him for bailing when things got tough. We hadn't spoken in 5 years. And now he was sitting in my living room. With my wife. He didn't stand. Didn't speak. Just looked at me. Almost like he pitied me. Lena, on the other hand, stayed eerily calm. She didn't look guilty. She looked resolved. Ethan, she said, this isn't what you think. That sentence. God, that sentence. Why is it always that sentence? I asked. What the hell is he doing here? She didn't blink. We've been talking. For a few months. Caleb finally spoke. His voice was low. I didn't come here to cause trouble. She reached out. That stopped me. She reached out? Lena nodded. It's about something you need to know. Something important. Something about her voice, steady, serious, made me hesitate. This wasn't an affair. This was something else. Something deeper. And then Caleb said it. It's about your father. And just like that, everything tilted. What could my father possibly have to do with this? I stared at Caleb like he'd just spoken in another language. My father had been dead for 6 years. He wasn't a perfect man, but he was solid, respected, the kind of guy people nodded to at gas stations, the kind of man I'd spent my whole life trying to make proud. And now Caleb was throwing him into this mess? What are you talking about? I snapped. Lena stood up, slowly, like she'd rehearsed this moment in her head 100 times. She walked over to the bookshelf, pulled out a manila envelope hidden behind one of her sketchbooks and handed it to me. I opened it. Inside, old letters, bank records, legal correspondence, all with my father's name on them. My hands were shaking. Lena's voice was barely above a whisper. I found those when I was organizing your dad's boxes last year. I didn't know what they meant, so I called Caleb. You what? I didn't want to believe it either, Ethan. But your dad. He stole from Caleb's family business. He didn't just ruin the company. He buried them. And he used some of that money to launch your first office. No way. I looked at Caleb. He didn't look smug. He looked tired, hollow, like he didn't want this truth either. I didn't come to destroy you, Caleb said. I came to give you the truth your wife didn't think you could handle. Lena stepped closer. I needed to know if you wanted the truth, or if you'd rather keep loving the version of your father you created. Couldn't breathe. And then she asked me one question I never saw coming. What do you do when the truth makes you hate the people you love, and question who you even are? Lena looked me dead in the eyes and asked, do you want the truth, or do you want to keep loving the lie? That question echoed in my head like a siren I couldn't shut off. The truth? That my father wasn't the man I thought he was? That the foundation of everything I'd built, my career, my confidence, my moral compass, was rigged from the start? Or the lie, the safe version, the myth, the memory of a man who raised me with firm hands and quiet strength? Caleb didn't stay long after that. He left the documents, nodded once, and walked out without saying goodbye. Lena didn't cry. Neither did I. We just stood there, two people who knew nothing would ever feel the same again. Later that night, I sat alone in the living room. The documents spread out around me like wreckage from a storm. I kept looking at a photo of my dad shaking hands with a man I now knew he betrayed. And I realized, betrayal doesn't always come from the people you expect. Sometimes it's inherited. Sometimes it's wrapped in love and Sunday dinners and advice you took like gospel. And sometimes the people trying to hurt you are the ones trying to set you free. If you've ever uncovered a truth that shattered everything you believed, let me know in the comments. I'm still figuring out what to do with mine.